over the internet. You can download them. They call them appliances, but not Windows. So hopefully in the future, Microsoft will find some way to make that legal and make it easy for people to share virtual Windows systems. Something else that's already come out is Linux support. Microsoft now supports Linux as a guest operating system, and they have now offered Linux extensions. So I think Linux as a guest operating system, and who knows, maybe even one day with Microsoft as a host operating system, I doubt it. But VMware is already doing that. They're offering VMware Server for Linux that runs on Linux as the host operating system. So that's the future right now. And now let's move on. Let's talk about how Microsoft Virtual Server is supported and licensed. First, let me point out again that Microsoft Virtual Server is a free product. Now, there's only one version of Microsoft Virtual Server. There's no more standard or enterprise like there used to be. The supported host operating systems, we already talked about some of these, but let me review them in a little bit more specifics. The first one is Windows 2003 Server, and you can use both the 32-bit or the 64-bit version. You can use standard, enterprise, or data center versions as your host operating system. You can use Windows Small Business Server 2003, Windows XP Service Pack 2. Of course, that's for non-production systems. Now, for the full system requirements for Microsoft Virtual Server, you can visit this web link here that you'll find in your video notes. Now, this web link, let me caution you, it gives the system requirements, but in my opinion, they're very underpowered for what you would really want. To run, I think, 2 to 3 guest operating systems, you need between 1.5 and 2 gigabytes of RAM. And that's if you allocate between 256 and maybe on up to 384 or even 512, you could allocate to maybe one of those guest operating systems, but the other ones would have to be 256. Much more than that on a single machine, and you really start pushing your RAM requirements. And the RAM requirements are typically what hit you the most because those are inflexible. When you allocate 256 megs of RAM to a single running virtual machine, that just took 256 from your host operating system. So you can see if you had only 1 gigabyte of RAM on a computer and you ran 3 guest operating systems with 256 each, that's